This story is about an American volunteer, Matthew Sampson, who spent 635 days on the front line in Ukraine. His journey is one of the unwavering determination and selflessness, as he chooses to stand on the front line of a foreign conflict, driven by a deep-seated belief in the universal values of freedom and justice. Now back in the US, he is on a new mission, spreading the word about how important it is to help Ukraine. Join us as we hear his story of courage and his call for action. Today I am excited to talk to a special guest, US Marine sniper Matthew Sampson, who has been protecting Ukraine for 635 days as of now. Hi Matthew, and my pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. Good morning. It's very nice to meet you and to have this interview with you.
So, the first question that you might encounter every time, but I can't stop but ask, why? So, you are a US citizen, quite far away from the war zone in Ukraine. Why did you decide to go and protect our country and to risk your own life?
It's a good question. I have a passion for helping people. It's why I joined the military almost 20 years ago also. The same thing. I want to help people. Growing up, I saw that there was a lot of people that just needed help, protection, stuff like that. Law enforcement does a very good job of doing that stuff here at home. And that's something that I wanted to kind of share that, in other countries where they need that also. And also, I feel like the war really isn't that far away because we also share a border with Russia. It's not nowhere near the front lines, but we are only, our soil's only 2.5 miles away from Russian soil up in Alaska near the Bering Strait.
Gotcha.
So we also share a border with Russia, just like Ukraine does. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah, I wish everyone, probably not everyone, but most of the people would think so. Because what I encounter that people that are even in Europe, that they think that Ukraine is somewhere far. Yes. We are not related, we are not connected. That is their thing, and it doesn't affect us as
Yes.
Europeans. That is what I encountered, and I'm surprised to hear like your mindset that you understand actually it is not far, even if it may seem to be. And in what way your experience in Ukraine differed from your expectations, and how did you adapt to it?
So the adaptation required a lot of flexibility for me and other Westerners, other Americans that I've met over there. I went over there by myself, which is what most of us have done for other Americans I've met there. But we've had to increase our flexibility a lot just because the way the Ukrainian government and the Ukrainian military does things is a little bit different than the way we do things. Some of it's better, some of it's worse, but it's all very different. And the war is also very different. I was also in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the people that were fighting did not have artillery or tanks or aircraft or drones or anything like that. And now we have all of that at the front line. So it took a lot of flexibility on our part to just be able to adapt to the new warfare that's happening out there now.
Mm-hmm. And what is the most challenging on the front line in Ukraine?
I would say support and supplies. There's parts of the front line that both sides can't move because no one has ammunition to take any ground. So both sides have only enough ammunition to hold the ground that they currently have, and they can't do any assaults at all. And there's times that we can't help them very much because we are also limited on ammunition. So I think that's the biggest thing that we run into constantly is we need more support, we need more ammo. And not just support from governments, but from individuals and NGOs, private donors. We need all of that. And sometimes, I have a rough time with NGOs and donors that tell me what I need at the front line instead of being able to ask me what I need and actually being willing to listen to the needs that we have. And it's a common problem with some of the organizations that we try to work with.
I see. And can you describe a particular moment or event that made a big impact
on you personally and professionally in Ukraine?
I would say just being able to work with the Ukrainian military as foreigners, seeing that even though we do things differently, that we're able to work together, even though we speak different languages sometimes. So sometimes some of the Ukrainians that we work with speak almost no English. That they know very basic words like "I'm from America," that they understand when I say I'm from California, stuff like that. But we can all fight together, and we can keep each other alive. And seeing that they're willing to follow us into combat and do so more or less with a smile on their face, just like the way we go into combat, is something that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, amazing. Why do you think it is important for Ukraine to win?
So I've been studying Russia as our enemy for almost 20 years now, being American military years ago, and then I was a security contractor for over 2,000 days in Iraq. We've spent a lot of time studying Russia as our enemy. Part of that included my time in Afghanistan back in 2009 and 2010, where we talked to Afghani locals that told us a lot of very bad stories about what happened when the Red Army was there decades ago, and how the Red Army treated the civilians with raping and killing and stuff like this. So I knew the type of evil that Russia does when they go to war. The stuff that happened, like in Bucha, for example, is something that, as bad as that is, it's not surprising. It's just normal stuff that Russia is known to do when they go to war. It's something that Russia's not the only one that does it. Each country sometimes pushes the limits a little bit when they go to war, and sometimes there's always civilian casualties, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But Russia is known for going out of their way just to kill civilians, just for sport. For them, it's just something fun that they do.
Yeah, that is awful.
And that's something that I did not feel comfortable just staying at home doing nothing about it and just watching it on TV.
Right.
I wanted to go over and do whatever it is that I could do to help with the situation.
Yeah, and we really appreciate that. What do you think would be the consequences if Ukraine fell?
I know Russia has openly said that once they finish Ukraine, they're going into Poland next. So regardless of what my opinions are, I don't even think my opinions even matter with a statement like that when Russia is saying that we are coming into NATO. And that when Russia says they're going to invade NATO next, then I think that's enough. That speaks for itself. So if Russia invades a NATO country that's been a NATO country for a long time, then that puts us guaranteed into World War III, which is something I know a lot of people are trying to avoid. So if we can keep the fighting in Ukraine, we avoid World War III. If we can stop the fighting in Ukraine, we avoid World War III. So the only way to do that is to get more support sooner rather than later, so that way we can actually finish this war and move on to something else.
It is so important what you are sharing right now, and I wanna really a lot of people to hear it and finally to understand it. That now Ukraine protects not only its territory, but actually at least the entire Europe.
Yes.
And further, right?
Yes.
And it is really important nowadays to stand with Ukraine and to support it. So this war will be over on Ukrainian territory and won't spread further.
Yes, and also I look at what's best for my country. I'm American, I'm not Ukrainian, so I'm ultimately more concerned about what's best for America. And when I'm over there, and even right now, I'm wearing camouflage, but there's no country on this other than some patches that I have from my time in Ukraine. So right now, I'm not employed by anybody. No one's telling me what to do. I'm only a U.S. citizen. So when I'm doing stuff over there, I'm not there with the United States military or with the U.S. government. So if I die over there, it doesn't really affect my country. So that's something that if we go into World War III with Russia invading Poland, then there will be Americans on the ground at the front lines from the U.S. government out there being killed. And we will lose a lot of American lives and other NATO countries as well. But my primary concern is Americans. So that will be extremely expensive for my country. That's something that we are trying to fight to avoid completely. There have been other Americans that have died in Ukraine, but all of those have all been volunteers just like me. We are. It doesn't matter as much. to our governments if a volunteer dies compared to someone that's a U.S. Marine, U.S. Army, Air Force, Navy, whatever, that's being sent over there by the U.S. military. So that's something that I'm really trying to avoid.
Yeah. So in this way, you're not only protecting Ukrainians, but you also protect your own country.
Yes.
What is the main message you want to convey to the world and to the US in particular?
So to like my fellow Americans, almost every American pays taxes. So first, I'm very thankful and extremely thankful to the American taxpayer for providing so much support that they provided to be able to give me American weapons so I could protect myself, so I could protect other Ukrainians, and do a job over there. So that's amazing. I'm also very appreciative of my country for allowing people just like yourself being able to come over to my country as a refugee and live somewhere where it's safe, where there are no air raid sirens. Almost every American has no idea what an air raid siren sounds like unless they've seen it in a movie, and that's a huge blessing. Then I really just want to share my story and my experience about just what we're going through, and that we really need more support. And in my opinion, the only way to actually finish this war, whether it's through peace talks or complete victory, is only through more support. Right now, it would not be a good idea to go into peace talks right now because Ukraine and Russia are too equal on the front lines. So whereas if you, just like in World War I, the best time to go into peace talks is when one side is winning a lot compared to the other side. So we need a lot more support from the governments, from the NGOs, from private donors. And that goes for myself as well. I'm here, I don't have any extra money. All my savings that I had, I spent to survive in Ukraine because, it costs a lot to pay for a war out of your own pocket. So that's stuff that I need funding as well to be able to share my story and spend some time in my own country after being gone almost 2 years.
Yeah, so I know that you are here for a couple of months actually to travel across the states and to share your message. Yeah, and I know that you organized fundraising, and I would encourage everyone actually to support Matthew's fundraising. It will help him to go across the states and primarily go to Washington, D.C. and to convey his message to government, right? And we hope that in this way we'll get supply and ammunition and financial aid.
Yes, that's what we're hoping for.
Exactly. So what is your biggest dream?
Let's see. My biggest dream is to be able to stop fighting. I'm getting too old for this in multiple different ways. I know I'm very close with my sister. She lives in Kansas City, and she is also very excited for the day when I can tell her that I'm going to have a normal job that doesn't involve firearms or body armor or anything like that, where my life is more at risk, serving other people. So I think that I'd like to be able to settle back down back in my own country and live here for a while.
Do you think it will be easier for you to settle?
I think so. I think I've done enough of it. This is my third war, and it wasn't something I was planning. I was, working on civilian stuff when all this happened, and again, it was mostly just because I knew almost nothing about Ukraine, nothing at all, and but I knew a lot about Russia, and that's why I felt I needed to go. Not really because of Ukraine, but just because I know what Russia does, and I feel that's wrong. I believe most of my fellow Americans understand that what Russia does is wrong, even if some of the other Americans have forgotten about it a little bit. But we all kind of grew up knowing that Russia does some pretty evil things when they go to war.
Exactly. And I want to express my gratitude for everything you are doing for Ukraine, for Ukrainians, and for your resilience and for your courage. And actually, the fact that I'm sitting next to you right now, and actually the fact that I am alive, it is thanks to you and to your fellow soldiers. And the fact that my hometown is alive and I have dreamed to be back, again, it is thanks to you. I remember the first day of the war when we were hiding in the bomb shelter and Russian troops entered our city. Who knows what would happen if not our army? So everything that we have right now, that is thanks to the Ukrainian army and to the foreign army, and we understand that, and we appreciate that. Thank you a lot for everything you do. I hope to see you in Ukraine on celebration Ukrainian victory.
That'd be very nice. I look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.